Well, hello and welcome back to the CrossWinds Church More Than Sunday podcast. Glad you're joining us today. And today we're going to get a chance to hear my conversation with Carole Taylor, who is our care pastor, as she talks a little bit about how we've been responding in trying to care for those in our CrossWinds Church community, as well as outside this community in the middle of this COVID-19 virus. So enjoy the podcast. Well, we are here with Carole Taylor, who is now our care pastor after all these years. Yep. Being our community life pastor, our small groups pastor. Carole's transitioned into this care role. Carole, welcome to our podcast. How you doing?
Thanks, Chris. I'm doing great.
Of all the times to transition into this role, to do it right before a virus that sweeps the earth, you got a lot on your plate right now.
Yeah, timing is everything, right? We were ready. We were in place.
We were ready.
We were. We thought about
really this exciting
back in the fall, and January we were ready to go. So
yeah,
teams.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah,
we should talk about that for a minute because we as a church in the past, we've often had care ministry. And I know I'm kind of going off script here a little bit in terms of what we already discussed. We talk about on this podcast, but since it's come up, we've always had care ministry, and in the past, sometimes that just felt like a little bit of a list of people who, when somebody needed help moving, or I don't know, it wasn't the full blown thing. I think you're hoping to turn this into right now, and so you started having meetings back in January. Is that right, or maybe even before January?
Before January, yeah. Yeah.
Involving the church, inviting them in to help us figure out how to design this. And what'd you come up with out of that?
Well, we found, there are some core things, and you mentioned meals. That's always one. Somebody's homesick, somebody's just had a baby, kind of the basics. Somebody needs a little help over the hump. And those are basics. We also have a lot of people in our church that want to be support around people with cancer. We have a lot of that. Widows and widowers. We found people that wanted to be partners in that. We have our grief share that goes on throughout the year, and that's under that care umbrella. People have gone through loss, whether through death or something else.
And grief share has been here a long time.
It has.
It's unbelievable. I talk to so many people who go through that and have an incredible experience.
Yeah. It's such a lifeline. Kathy Bobbitt, who heads that up, was telling me that right now the group that's going through there's a lot of them with, several of them with people who have lost kids. And so there's this bond. And when they couldn't meet anymore, they had to get creative because they couldn't miss being together and processing because they had about 4 or 5 more weeks to go on this 13-week journey. And so they're doing Zoom. So they're online together weekly and still connecting. Wow. And it was critical they did. None of them didn't want to not meet. So, but that's one of them. And we have transportation. Sometimes we have somebody needs an appointment to an oncology appointment, or somebody just can't drive for whatever reason. And we've got a team of people who will drive people to things they need to be to. And so what we have found is people who have a felt need in an area, or people feel called to help in particular areas. That's how we develop the different types of teams that we have. And that's kind of how we're structured.
I kind of picture it's like a tree with all these different branches that come off of it. And you've got leaders who are kind of the ones heading up each branch and building volunteer teams under them. So when somebody comes in with a care request and says, hey, I need this, we can pass it over to that leader and that branch who can all kind of mobilize to try to come around someone to take care.
Yeah, that's it. And then we have a group of people who say whatever, and they're on our whatever list. And so the whatevers right now are helping me with a lot of phone calls to a lot of seniors,
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What have we been doing as a care team since we got these shelter in place orders, since we saw this virus kind of start to expand throughout the community? What's that looked like?
Yeah. So like you and I discussed when this started, we know that the most vulnerable are the 70 plus age group. And while you don't know it, we have a lot of them in our church, a lot of them. And so we decided to, send an email out to all of them, which we did. And then if you remember that first Sunday, we sat outside the church and we had some seniors coming and they don't get emails. And we said, whoa, Okay, so there's a lot of seniors on our roster, but not all of them do or get emails. So we
Just
thought,
to be clear,
okay,
we thought it might be smart to have some pastors just kind of hanging out that first Sunday. We couldn't have in-person services, and we got 50 donuts, and we all, just our whole pastoral staff, sat outside, and every I mean, we just watched people pull up. Even the evening service, by the way, we had people come.
yeah,
Somebody came. It was their first night. Someone from Las Vegas who had been told, I think, from the church
that's
I
right.
used to be at.
That's right.
Anyway, we watched people show up, and I'd say almost 100% were seniors who, as you just mentioned, don't get email, don't check email, and didn't have a way of finding out.
Right. So we decided to call every senior in our church with a couple of questions for them. One, do you still go to the church? It doesn't matter if you do or not. We just wanted to kind of track. Two, are you doing okay? Is there anything the church can help you with? And three, are you able to watch the services if you're not able to come? And if you're not, we have the Geek Squad who will come out and help you set up. And right away, we had people out in some of our senior homes. I don't know what they did, but plug something in their TV so they can watch the services.
Right.
And so just helping them to stay connected, helping them feel cared about. And so our team has just divvied up that list and making calls. Every day we're making calls to our seniors to make them know that we love them, we're here for them. And then we've had some opportunities to go out and serve. So we found—
and we're talking hundreds of seniors. When
hundreds.
We say that. So how many people are making those phone calls? Is that
we have,
you?
It started to be me alone. And then I realized that's not going to work. And I sent an email out to the team saying, hey, here's what I'm doing with the seniors. Anybody want to help? And I had 15 people right away. So we started divvying up the list and making calls. And then we report back our findings. And then out of that, we found some needs and started addressing them. So it was great.
Talk to us about those. What are the needs you're finding?
Yeah, well, let me tell you a couple of them. One of them needed some food and needed a delivery of things, and kind of had a list but didn't want to go out. And so one of our women went and picked up and dropped off for that person. Another woman needed medication and couldn't go into the pharmacy, and the pharmacy wasn't delivering. So we needed that done and got medication delivered. We had another one. This one's my favorite. Can I tell a story about our new family in the church? So we had a couple who had just attended one of our services, and I think it was just online. I think it was one of our first online services. So I'm new to your church, really liked it. New to the area. We saw you needed some people to help in care, and we'd love to help. So I said, well, okay, you're a young couple, and here's what I need. I need a young couple because you're not as susceptible, they're telling us, to help this woman who had this need. She needed some stuff. And she said, Ann, my litter box for my cat needs to be emptied, and I have a few household chores. So I connected them, and they ended up calling her and spent lots of time on the phone, went out and got her groceries, got her some household supplies she needed. And then when they realized she has a severe vision impairment, they started marking the perishable items in large black felt tips so that she could read when these items would no longer be useful, and taking large packages of items and breaking them down into smaller packages for her, making them more usable. Wow. And then they had built a little friendship by now and needed the kitty litter box emptied, and they did that. Yeah. And then she thought, well, they're pretty useful. Maybe they can bring my garbage to the curb, which they did.
Wait, this is not like a give an inch, take a mile situation?
Actually, they said she was actually delightful, and I think they've built a bond. And his email back to me said, okay, well, we've done everything for her, and I'm sure there'll be more things down the road, and we're happy to continue to help her out. So
that's awesome.
That's one of my treasured stories. I love that. And
whoever you are, a young couple out there that decided to do this, thank you so much for doing this and being Jesus to people. This is such a significant.
I said their story was one for the notebooks, because it was the above and beyond thing. And not everything is like that, Chris. Sometimes it's just that one phone call. I mean, sometimes it's just a volunteer listening to a senior who hasn't had anybody to talk to in a while.
Right.
Sometimes it's just emptying the litter box,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. The phone call piece, I think, is huge. We've got people who are isolated; they can't get out. Maybe technologically they're a little more challenged and are not finding it as easy as some of us to have constant Zoom chats and Google
Right.
Hangouts
Right.
and all these other things. So for someone to just call and say, "Hey, do you want to just talk for a while?" That might be a really important thing right now.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Actually, not surprising to me. I'm finding what I'm finding in conversations with them too, just the need for to be back in the church and to be back. Some of the people are on my usher team, and I've talked to some of them in the phone calls, and they are people. And I can imagine what the day is going to be like when we all come back that first Sunday together. I'm sure everyone will be there at 9:00. So
it's interesting. You just kind of realize how much you miss the gathering together, right? And you understand why Scripture has this challenge to not forsake it. The idea of coming together and worshiping together. There's something about the joy that comes in worshiping in that kind of community. And as much as what we're putting out there on weekends with our services is somewhat of a replica of what a normal service would look like. We're still using our auditorium, and it's just not the same thing as it is to be there with people experiencing it.
Yeah.
That'll be a great day when we get to do it together again.
It will be. And I think even just in our pause in this season, we're just finding, how the old saying that absence makes the heart grow fonder. I feel like I'm hearing that over and over and over again in these phone calls, that people are so eager to be back with their friends, with their people. And I think that's why not just an email, but that personal phone call, particularly that population, is just so critical. And it's been worth all of our time on the phone, and it's been rich. It's been rich.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Is there anything that we should know if we want to join your team and become part of the one of these branches on the tree, or if we're somebody who needs care right now? I can only imagine we're going to see an increasing amount of that in the coming weeks here. And who knows how long this thing's going to go on for, and even when it fades down, if it's going to rise back up again. And what would you tell us?
Yeah. So my team and myself constantly check care at crosswindschurch.org, or you can call, if you're more of a phone call person, you can call the church office 560-3800, and the extension is 116. 116. Okay. And we
116.
116 at the church. And we're responding to everything every day. So
and you just leave a voicemail, and somebody will be hearing it.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can help a little, you can help a lot, or call us if you need help. Yeah. Or if you know somebody, and they don't have to be a CrossWinds attender to get help. I mean, one of the best ways to help your neighbors, and people that you know in need. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good.
Yeah.
All right, Carole.
All right,
we're
Chris.
so grateful for you, and that you are leading this thing out for such a time as this.
Yeah.
That this thing would be off the ground and ready to go. So appreciate it.
Thank you. We consider it a privilege.
All right. Thanks, Carole.
You bet.